I am really excited today. This is really a very special day in my life. Now, it turns out that it's a really special day in your life as well. What makes this day so special for me and for you? Does anyone have an idea? Okay, we woke up. That's a good one. I like that answer because that's pretty close to what I'm looking for. What makes this day so special for me and so special for you? In my entire life, this is the very first time I'm going to live February the 25th, 2018. I have never lived this day before. So I can't wait till this day unfolds. I'm probably going to make a few mistakes today because it's fresh, it's new. I've never done this before. You've never done this before. And I want to make sure that I get everything out of this day that I can. And in order to do that, I got to do what? If I want to get everything out of this day that I possibly can, I don't want to spend any time today thinking about tomorrow or thinking about yesterday. All I want to do is focus right on today, February 25th, 2018, so I can enjoy everything this day has to offer. It turns out to be that that's the key message of today's gospel reading. Now, the gospel comes out of the 9th chapter of Mark, verses 2 to 10. Let's take a look at the first half of the second verse of the 9th chapter of Mark. See what happens here. This is verse 2a, so the first half of the second verse. Jesus took Peter, James, and John and led them up on a high mountain, apart by themselves. Now, these four men are up on this high mountain. They got this incredible panoramic view. They're just looking out, gazing at this view. It's a great location. It's a great spot to be on retreat with each other. Not only do they have a great view of everything that the top of the mountain holds as they gaze out, but they have a view of each other. They're enjoying each other because they're on top of this high mountain. Now, something happens when they're spending time together up on this high mountain. Let's take a look at the second half of the second verse of the 9th chapter of Mark. So that's verse 2b. And as they're up on this high mountain, Jesus, Peter, James, and John, Jesus was transfigured before them. Now, what does that mean? That Jesus underwent a metamorphosis, that Jesus changed in physical appearance? No, it doesn't mean that. They saw a side of Jesus they had never seen before because they're spending all this time with Jesus up on that mountain. You know, that happens so often in life. You have people you know and people you know well. A lot of us have acquaintances, people we know, but we really haven't had very long conversations with. Maybe 3 or 4 minutes if you add up all the time we spent someone in conversation over all these years. But when you spend a lot of time with someone that you usually have never spent time with, you see what? You see that person in a different light. You might say to that person, hey, I never knew you were that funny. I never knew you were so smart. You might say, now I know why you don't have any friends. Because you're going to see that person in a different light. You're going to see a side of that person you never seen before because you're going to be transfigured. Now, Peter loved the time he spent with Jesus, James, and John up on that mountain. And look what Peter says in verse 5. Then Peter said to Jesus, reply, Rabbi, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah. What is Peter saying? He's saying, Jesus, I want to make this a Kodak moment. I want to remember the time we spent up in this mountain. So years from now, if I come back up in this mountain, I will see those 3 monuments, those 3 memorials, and I'll say to myself, I remember the day I hung up here with James, John, and Jesus. You see, Peter was right. Peter had no idea if the future was going to be better or worse. All he knew is right now, it doesn't get any better than this. You see, this is chapter 9 of Mark's Gospel. By chapter 12, compositionally, 5 months later, chronologically, Jesus begins the road to Calvary, and Peter passively watches. You see, Peter was right. Peter knew what the future would hold. This is chapter 9 of Mark's Gospel. By chapter 13, somewhere around 5 months or 2 or 3 days later, Jesus would be crucified, and Peter, his buddy, would deny him several times. You see, Peter had no idea if the future was going to be worse, the future was going to be better. All he knew is right now, right today, this moment, up in this mountain with my buddies, Jesus, James, and John, it just doesn't get any better than this. He didn't try to quickly run down off that mountain. He said to himself, I'm going to enjoy the view of the mountain. Not only the panoramic view out there, but the view I have right in front of my eyes. My three buddies. We're going to enjoy each other right now. I'm just going to enjoy them. I'm not going to find something else to do. I want to enjoy this moment. That's the gospel message for all of us. Enjoy today. And the only way you can enjoy today is focus on today. Don't worry about tomorrow. It's not here yet. Yesterday's history. I can't change history. I was talking to these two young parents the other day, and their little boy, 6-year-old little boy, was standing there, and we were having this conversation with the mother and the father, the parents. And the little boy, he was pretty rambunctious, and all of a sudden he starts talking about his grandparents. Now, little boy is very lucky. His parents are all alive, so this little fella has 4 grandparents, 2 grandfathers, 2 grandmothers. And hopefully it remains that way for many, many years into the future for him. Now, as he starts talking about his grandparents, he said to me, "Oh, Father Ken," he said, "out of all my grandparents, I love Grandpa Joe the best." Well, what's so special about Grandpa Joe? And he said this to me: "Whenever we go to his house to visit, he plays with me." Oh, yeah, he plays with him. So I said to the little fellow, "Well, what do the other 3 grandparents do when you go to their house to visit?" And this is what he said: "When we go to their house to visit, they find something for me to do, and then they go do what they were doing before I got there." You see, I'm sure he loves all 4, but he loves Grandpa Joe just a little bit more. He's elevated. Why? Because Grandpa Joe puts everything off to the side. What's Grandpa Joe saying? My little grandson's here now. I'm going to enjoy him now, not when he leaves. I'm going to put off everything I've been doing and just play with my grandson. Why? Because this little guy is going to continue to grow and to get older. There'll come a day when my grandson turns 15, 16, 17. He won't want to have anything to do with Grandpa because he's going to have a life. He's going to have a bunch of other friends. He's going to fight with his parents when they say we're going to visit Grandpa. He's going to say, "No, I have stuff to do." But now he's 6 years old. His world is small. The people in it are big. And he's saying, Grandpa Joe, he takes the time to play with me. That's all I want from him. Play with me, Grandpa. That's why we came over here. But the other 3, no, they're busy. The other 3 reminds me of being up in a mountain, and the first thing they would do when they got up in a mountain, they would run away. They find something for him to do. So they go back to doing what they were doing before he got there. The gospel message is pretty simple. Jesus, James, and John, they had a good time up in that mountain. That's why Peter wants to make 3 monuments, because they enjoyed the time together while it was occurring, not 5 years later in retrospect. They enjoyed it while it was happening. Often in life, we fail to do that. We look back in memory and say, when we were together that one day, how much fun that was. And the truth of the matter is, when you were together that day, you were on the phone. You were texting and you weren't there. Physically, you were there, but mentally, you were somewhere else. Isn't that a tragedy? Today is a really special day in my life. In your life, I have never in my entire life lived February the 25th, 2018. This is a whole new experience for me. I'm probably going to really mess this day up. I've never done it before. But all I know is this: the only way to really enjoy this day that I've never lived before, and the same thing's true for you, the only way I can really enjoy this day, I'm not going to think about tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about yesterday. I'm just going to focus right now, right on this day that I've never lived before. That will make this day in my life very, very special.